Throughout human history, seekers have described a fundamental reality beyond ordinary perception, the very ground of existence itself. Kashmir Shaivism articulates this ground through the relationship between Shiva and Shakti, consciousness and its inherent power forever engaged in cosmic dance. This relationship forms the cornerstone of all that exists. Unlike traditions emphasizing either masculine transcendence or feminine immanence, Kashmir Shaivism recognizes their essential non-duality. Shiva embodies pure consciousness, the unchanging awareness within which all experience occurs. Shakti manifests as dynamic energy that brings all things into being. Together they form an inseparable unity, two aspects of the same reality. I find something humorous in how we try to conceptualize this relationship with our limited minds. We say Shiva and Shakti as if discussing two separate entities, having coffee somewhere in the cosmos. Yet their unity transcends all duality, which makes explaining them inherently paradoxical. How do you describe what exists before words? The universe emerges from their interplay, consciousness and energy engaged in eternal expression. This relationship manifests not only cosmically, but within each of us, mapped through 7 energy centers charting our journey from limited to unlimited awareness. Now you might wonder, why 7 centers? Why not 5 or 9? Ancient traditions across cultures independently arrived at this 7-fold structure, suggesting these aren't arbitrary divisions, but phenomenological observations of consciousness in its different manifestations. Either way, these centers provide a remarkably useful map. Each center represents a state of consciousness with its distinctive way of perceiving reality. At the base center, awareness remains contracted, perceiving the world as solid matter while focusing primarily on survival. Many dismiss this center as lower or unspiritual, but this misses something essential. This grounding in physical reality provides the necessary foundation for all other development. When someone claims to be too spiritual for basic needs, they're typically compensating for insecurity rather than demonstrating advancement. Authentic spiritual development includes all centers rather than rejecting any of them. As awareness expands to the second center, perception shifts from rigid materiality to flowing elements. Creativity awakens as boundaries soften. Those naturally attuned here often display artistic talent, perceiving fluid energies beneath material appearances. They see possibilities where others see only facts. But beware romanticizing this level. Enhanced creativity comes with heightened emotional turbulence. Those predominantly operating from this center often struggle with emotional boundaries and practical matters. The artistic temperament has its shadow side. The third center brings recognition of Maya, the creative power, generating apparent multiplicity from underlying unity. The world appears not as separate elements, but as projection or illusion. Personal power and dynamism characterize this stage. Many spiritual seekers become infatuated with this level, enjoying newfound power while believing themselves more advanced than they are. The ego loves co-opting spiritual concepts. How many enlightened teachers have fallen from grace through power abuses? This center brings genuine insight but dangerous temptations. When energy illuminates the heart center, genuine spiritual awakening begins. Here one experiences reality as expressions of consciousness itself. What appeared external resolves into universal awareness. Compassion flows naturally as the boundary between self and other dissolves. This sounds beautiful and can be, but also brings tremendous vulnerability. Opening the heart means opening to both joy and suffering. Many retreat from this opening, preferring intellectual spirituality to the messiness of compassion. True heart awakening means feeling everything more deeply, not floating above human experience in detached bliss. The throat center brings further refinement. Consciousness no longer appears as playing, but simply as manifesting through forms. Communication becomes transmission of truth rather than information exchange. Those operating from this center speak words, carrying transformative power beyond their literal meaning. At the 6th center, the third eye, intuitive vision awakens. Consciousness permeates everything, leaving no room for essential separation. Intuition reaches extraordinary levels, penetrating appearances to perceive underlying patterns. I notice spiritual communities often fetishize this center. Everyone wants psychic powers and visions, yet genuine third eye awakening brings responsibility more than entertainment. Seeing beyond appearances means seeing others' suffering and potential clearly, creating moral obligation to respond appropriately. Finally, at the crown center, all distinctions dissolve into pure consciousness. No universe exists separate from awareness. Consciousness alone remains. This represents complete realization where seeker and sought recognize their non-difference. Easy to conceptualize, nearly impossible to comprehend without direct experience. The mind cannot grasp what transcends mind. Words fail when pointing toward wordless reality. And yet, paradoxically, we must use words to indicate what lies beyond them. The awakening of Kundalini Shakti, dormant energy at the base of the spine, catalyzes this transformative journey. When activated, this energy rises through the central channel, illuminating each center and expanding consciousness. Unlike gradual practices producing incremental change, Kundalini awakening often proceeds dramatically, bringing rapid transformation alongside significant challenges. And here we must pause to address spiritual materialism, the tendency to collect experiences like trophies. My Kundalini rose higher than yours becomes another ego game. The spiritual marketplace sells Kundalini awakening like a product with courses promising to activate your Kundalini in one weekend. This commodification misses something fundamental. Authentic awakening remains unpredictable and often inconvenient. When powerful energy awakens, previously unconscious material surfaces for integration. What remained dormant demands attention. This explains why spiritual awakening frequently involves emotional turbulence, unusual physical symptoms, and psychological disorientation. The entire system undergoes comprehensive reconfiguration. I've witnessed seasoned meditators shocked by their own resistance. When energy actually begins moving, they expected bliss and received upheaval instead. Theory meets practice, and practice humbles theory every time. Physical manifestations commonly include spontaneous movements, sensations of heat or electricity along the spine, altered sleep patterns and heightened sensitivity. Psychological effects include increased intuition, emotional releases, vivid dreams, and alternating states of clarity and confusion. Kashmir Shivism provides frameworks for understanding these experiences. Instead of pathizing spiritual emergencies, this tradition recognizes them as natural aspects of awakening, necessary purification and expansion of limited identity into cosmic awareness. Shaktipat, transmission of spiritual energy from teacher to student, often initiates this process. A momentary contact with higher consciousness creates resonance that continues expanding through the system. This transmission can occur through touch, gaze, mantra, or even at a distance, catalyzing the disciple's own awakening. Many seekers obsess over finding the perfect teacher to bestow this transmission. Yet, authentic awakening depends more on receptivity than the power of transmission. The greatest teacher cannot awaken someone determined to remain asleep, while even brief contact can transform the truly receptive student. If you appreciate this exploration of consciousness and energy, consider subscribing to Continue, receiving insights that bridge ancient wisdom with contemporary understanding. This journey through energy centers offers more than theoretical understanding. It provides a roadmap for direct experience of your unlimited nature. The distinction between intellectual understanding and direct recognition remains essential. Many spiritual seekers accumulate knowledge without fundamental transformation. Kashmir Shivism emphasizes pratyabhna, experiential realization, that your true nature is identical with ultimate reality. This recognition occurs not through accumulation, but through removal of coverings that prevent clear seeing. The tradition offers numerous methods facilitating this recognition. Jivadana meditation on pure consciousness aligns the practitioner with cosmic rhythm. Pratyabhijna practices focus on recognizing moments of expanded awareness, occurring naturally throughout. Daily experience, music spanda practices Attune perception to subtle vibration underlying all existence. Consider a practical application. When sitting in meditation, you might notice subtle vibrations throughout your body. A gentle pulsation becoming perceptible as awareness refines. This pulsation represents not merely a physiological process, but consciousness itself in its dynamic aspect. By attuning to this vibration, you directly experience Shockian action. Some might dismiss these practices as esoteric, indulgences for privileged spiritual hobbyists. Yet Kashmir Shivism emphasizes integration more than transcendence. Unlike traditions separating sacred from mundane, this path recognizes all experience as potentially transformative. The awakened practitioner finds divine consciousness expressing through ordinary activities, not confined to formal meditation. This integration occurs naturally through progressively subtle approaches to practice. Beginning with structured disciplines, the practitioner gradually shifts to working with subtle energy. These prepare the ground for direct recognition of true nature, culminating in spontaneous realization without specific methods. As consciousness expands, practice becomes less effortful and more natural. What began as deliberate technique transforms into effortless recognition, permeating all activities. You no longer need to do spiritual practice because awareness itself has transformed. Kashmir Shaivism uniquely embraces both transcendence and a maintenance, recognizing material existence as manifestation of the same consciousness constituting our essence. This perspective allows full engagement with life while maintaining expanded awareness. If you found value in these insights about the divine dance of consciousness and energy, please leave a comment sharing your own experiences with these dimensions of awareness. Personal reports provide valuable confirmation of these universal patterns of development. Modern research increasingly examines physiological and psychological dimensions of spiritual awakening, noting remarkable parallels with traditional descriptions. Studies document measurable changes during advanced meditative states, including altered brainwave patterns, hormonal fluctuations, and immune system modulation. Skeptics might argue these experiences reflect nothing more than neurochemical changes. God is a brain state, but this reductionism works both ways. If spiritual experiences can be reduced to brain activity, then ordinary perception can be similarly reduced. Either all experience is real or none is. The materialist position undermines itself by privileging one type of experience, ordinary over another, mystical, when both arise from the same brain. How does one distinguish genuine awakening from imaginative experience? Authenticity manifests through integration and stabilization. Temporary elevated states come easily compared to permanent transformation of perception. True awakening persists beyond specific practices or environments, gradually becoming your natural condition rather than special experience. Signs of genuine progress include increased compassion, reduced reactivity, clearer perception, spontaneous insight, and natural presence. These qualities emerge not through effort, but as expressions of expanded consciousness. As limited identification dissolves, universal qualities shine through individual personality. The journey through energy centers represents not linear progression, but expanding circles of awareness. Earlier stages remain accessible while becoming informed by higher perception. The physical world continues existing, but appears permeable, showing consciousness as its substance rather than appearing solid and separate. Some will find this description uncomfortably mystical. Modern minds prefer clean explanations without paradox or mystery. Yet consciousness itself, even ordinary waking consciousness, remains scientifically unexplained. The hard problem of consciousness persists, despite centuries of philosophical and scientific investigation. Perhaps ancient traditions, addressing consciousness directly, deserve serious consideration rather than dismissal. Kashmir Shivism offers precise phenomenological descriptions of awakening stages. Instead of vague references to enlightenment, this tradition maps specific shifts in perception, energy, and identification. This precision proves invaluable for practitioners navigating territory beyond conventional experience. The tradition also acknowledges challenges alongside benefits. When Shakti rises rapidly, it may encounter blockages in the subtle body, areas of contracted energy corresponding to unresolved psychological material. The resulting pressure creates both opportunity for clearing and potential for temporary discomfort. These challenges explain traditional emphasis on preparation and guidance. Purification practices create space for energy to flow without obstruction. Ethical guidelines prevent reinforcement of ego, structures blocking higher awareness. Teacher guidance helps navigate unknown territory as consciousness expands beyond familiar boundaries. Despite these challenges, Shakti Awakening offers unparalleled transformation. Each energy center activated brings new capabilities, insights, and dimensions of experience. The heart opens compassion beyond personal boundaries. The throat brings creative expression aligned with universal truth. The third eye awakens intuition that penetrates appearances. The crown opens to direct recognition of unlimited consciousness as your true nature rather than theoretical constructs. These represent direct experiences available through proper understanding and practice. The journey through energy centers maps not abstract philosophy but transformations in lived experience, shifts in how reality appears moment by moment. Consider how differently the world appears through each center of awareness. From the base center, reality seems solid, fixed, and potentially threatening. From the heart center, that same reality appears as expressions of consciousness, filled with beauty and meaning. Even amidst suffering, from the crown center, all appearances resolve into consciousness itself, neither threatening nor requiring defense. These perspectives represent not competing theories about reality, but progressive unveilings of its nature, each showing a deeper dimension of what appeared simple from more limited viewpoints. Like moving from black and white to full-spectrum vision, each awakening expands the range of perception without invalidating previous experiences. The Shakti process gradually harmonizes these perspectives, integrating them into a comprehensive vision that includes rather than excludes. The awakened individual moves fluidly among levels of awareness, responding appropriately to practical concerns while maintaining recognition of their ultimate nature. This flexibility distinguishes genuine awakening from spiritual bypass. Rather than using higher perspectives to avoid practical realities, the awakened individual engages more fully with all dimensions of experience, bringing expanded awareness to everyday situations. Kashmir Shaivism therefore offers not escape from life, but fuller participation in its mystery and wonder, not transcendence of humanity, but discovery of its limitless depth. The divine we seek manifests not beyond ordinary experience, but as its very substance, consciousness expressing through infinite forms, while remaining unchanged in essence. When we recognize this truth, spiritual practice transforms, from striving for future attainment to discovering present completeness. What greater freedom could exist than recognizing that we already are what we seek? What deeper fulfillment than discovering our identity with the consciousness that brings all things into being? The dance of Shiva and Shakti, of consciousness and energy, continues eternally manifesting the universe moment by moment. Our spiritual awakening represents not achievement of something new, but recognition of what has always been the case. Our essential nature is that very consciousness energy constituting all existence. This recognition constitutes the highest purpose of human life, not achievement or acquisition, but realization of essential nature beyond all limitation. In this recognition, we find both individual fulfillment and universal connection, both unique expression and universal ground. What does this understanding offer our fragmented world? Perhaps most importantly, it provides foundation for genuine compassion based not on moral obligation, but on direct perception of underlying unity. When we recognize others as expressions of the same consciousness constituting our own being, barriers dissolve and empathy flows naturally. The journey through the energy centers maps not only individual transformation, but collective potential. As more individuals awaken to expanded consciousness, the collective field shifts toward greater harmony and understanding. Each person who realizes their essential nature contributes to the awakening of universal awareness within humanity. This recognition arrives not through accumulation of experiences, but through clear seeing in this moment. The ultimate spiritual practice involves neither special techniques nor extraordinary experiences, but direct recognition of consciousness as the substance of present awareness. When we recognize what looks through our eyes rather than what appears before them, awakening occurs naturally. If this message resonated with you, leave a comment below with the phrase, "I'm expanding consciousness." Your presence and your voice are part of this collective awakening.